Hello and welcome to something a little different. A question was asked the other night on the diecast and modelers community on Facebook. Martin Durr from his channel over there, if you give it a look, asked the question recommending which paint brushes people would recommend, and I was going through what I use, as I was going to go what I use as an artist and doing these model cars as well, what brushes and using them for brush painting and detail painting. Anyway, without further ado, let's go to the bench. Anyway, without further ado, my paintbrush collection can only be described as extensive. This is only there's another box somewhere, and I've got ones for on my bench and all sorts. I've basically got brushes everywhere. I bought them from all over the years, and a conclusion I'll come to will be a bit beyond most people's minds, but it's as I find it, and others may find different, but the overall advice I'll give is don't spend silly money. It'll be wasted. They are good, don't get me wrong. More expensive brushes are good, and I've bought them, and believe me, I've bought them. I've bought a few, and I've found just as competitive and just as good at the lower end of the market. Sure, there's crap brushes at the lower end of the market. There's very crap brushes in some case, but you've got to filter them out and know where they are to get the decent brushes. But budget brushes aren't always crap. You get, sometimes in the budget ranges, you can get seconds from major brush manufacturers that won't put them out into their line, and believe me, it's for minute reasons that basic customizers and restorers and that, they won't get the benefits of. You're only talking about really top flight artists that'll get the benefit and notice it. Anyway, go through some of the things with you. Now then, to be honest, for our purposes, there are only two brushes we need concern ourselves about, and that's a flat brush. That isn't actually a flat, to be honest. It's a Games Workshop dry brush, but it's pretty much a flat. It'll do for a quick demo. And a round brush, and the round typically is what we use for detailing, and that one's your Common Garden umbrella fix that come with your free kits. And when you're detailing, I'm using model colour from Vallejo, but it could as easily be Citadel, Umbrella acrylics, Revel Aqua acrylics, whatever. It's all the same. And what many don't realise and don't think of, they use paint wallop straight from the pot. And it's good in some senses, but there we are. That's what the flat's for. The flat's for doing smoother work. The flat is good for smoothing out your work over large areas and giving you less brush strokes. But straight out to the pot isn't as good as. Here I'm using a wet palette. I make my own wet palettes. Hang on, get it into view. Here's my own wet palette. I make my own wet palettes. I use a Tupperware dish, sponge in the bottom, covered over by baking paper. Like, you want the there's the waxy grease-proof type. You don't want that, you want the old-fashioned baking paper so water can come through. And you put your paint onto that. And take a bit of the water from there. My tip for anything, doing stuff on modelling, always thin your paint. Always. It's too thick as it comes in general. And doing the same thing here. You can see the difference. It levels out better. In some instances, he's covered better there. But it will level out better. The brush strokes will disappear better. I mean, that's a bit dry now. It might just lift it, but we'll have a look. And there we go, over the top. So that's for painting flat surfaces. Your flat brush, it'll give you a lot more control. Well, not control. It'll give you a lot smoother finish, especially thinning your paints. I don't know whether you'll make it out, but it should be smoother. With a decent flat brush, that's, as I've said, that's more my dry brushing brush. But if I did a decent flat brush on that, the brush marks would dry out well. And it'd be a nice smooth surface. With thinning the paint, it's always better to do 3, 4. Some mini painters, when they're doing a particularly not well pigmented colour, some can get up to 16 coats on a mini. Yeah, as I was saying, some miniature painters can get up to 16 coats onto a thing, but here's the important one that I think most will be looking for. And they always ask the question, what's the best brush to use? And there's many out there, but don't spend big money, because there's terrific brushes for not a lot of money. I'll be honest with you. I view it silly. It's sure, if you're an artist like one of my friends, he paints with a magnifying glass, and he's one of the country's top aviation artists, and he'll sit there putting detail on with a magnifying glass, and he's spent money on daylight lighting for when it goes out, when the light goes down in winter, so he can continue working, because he has deadlines to meet and stuff. And even he goes down to, I think it's at most a treble O. I mean, I have smaller, where are they here? What sizes have I got down to? There we go, that's a silly one. Let's have a look, that's 5, that one's 5 zeros, which is very, very small, but it's not necessarily needed to go down that small. for the simple reason is this is a normal, bog standard, everyday Umbro brush, and that smaller brush, the 5-0s, the paint dries up on that in no time. But with this one, you can do the same thing. A big thing on detail painting is put your brush in, twist it as you come out to get the point, and then you've got a bigger brush that holds more paint, and you can do minute dots. I mean, here, well, I'll have to really zoom in. Now then, that's better. Here, I'll get really minute dots. Even painting lines. I'm not that good at the moment because I'm shaky. But painting lines, you can get some really minute. I'm struggling to get the feel for the really small stuff because of my shakes, but as I say, that all this minute work is with a Umbro brush, very minute, and there's other techniques to go into it. I mean, we do wedge highlighting or some details. Let me get this one. It's actually quite a good one. But using the edge of the brush rather than the tip sometimes. There we go. Just painting down the trim there. That's using the edge rather than the tip. I've caught the wing there a bit. That can wipe off, it's only acrylic. It's not going to stop on anyway because I'm going to restore it, but as I say, here we go. Pull that up. And as I say, the important thing is for detail painting, it's a decent sized length on your hair, on the brush, and that twist and pull out, leave some of the paint behind. You don't need a lot of paint on, and have it thinned is great. And here we are, we're just on. But there we go, just balance my hand up. I'm painting quite a distance from the model, to be honest. Well, there we go. It's not one of my greatest efforts, I've not done all of it, but the main thing is to remember, never ever ever fall into the trap that expensive is the best. It isn't. Far from it. Yes, they do damn fine brushes, and yes, you can get the advantage of them, but you have to have the skill of one of the country's best painters, say, to get that advantage out of them. For us mere mortals, 99.9% of people, The brush I'd recommend for detail painting is, well, there's two sorts I'd recommend. There's the Humbrol Earthix standard brush. You get in the gift sets, the starter sets. Terrific brush, you can't go wrong with that brush. And another one, I'll have a look if I've got some here. They come in a 4-pack and they're available from a shop called The Works here in the UK. It's finding one of them now. Typical, you have 4 of them and you can't find one of them when you want them. I have that many brushes to go through. Anyway, what they are, they come from The Works. It's a bookshop and gift shop here in the UK. And there's 4 brushes in the pack. And the actual brush is a dark blue colour. Or it was that. Oh, hang on, what's that? No, that's not one of them. Although that is one of the Works brushes. But that's not really detail, that's more of a filling in brush for small work. I can't find one at the moment, but if you go to The Works, most times have a Works in them. Either that, or if you haven't got one in your town, do a search online, and I'm sure they have an online store, and you can buy them online. And the 4-pack of detail brushes is astounding. I use, but more than anything, as I've said, don't knock that one. It's a terrific brush. The Earthix one will do everything most people need and more for detail painting on these cars. It's just using the techniques. There's 2 biggies in this game. It's, well, 3 biggies. Use a wet palette, thin your paints, and also put that tip on it by you spin the brush spiral and keep your tip on the brush, and that keeps your tip for detailing like the little dots there. And also remember using the edge for sticking up stuff like that. And you can't go wrong with the Earthix Humbrol brush. And for me, it takes a lot for me to recommend something, and especially from Humbrol, because in general I think Humbrol's products are crap. Like, their enamels are far and away from what they used to be. Their acrylics aren't brilliant acrylics. But that paintbrush is one of the success stories. I don't know where they source it from or whatever, but it's outstanding. Anyway, bye for now, and I'll catch you in my next video.